Few things in life are important, but one thing that's important is having a truck that's worth showing off. Now, my 1977 Ford F-250 is that for me. I love Martha, and she's treated me good for years and years and years. It's time for me to finally treat her good. You know what I mean? Really just enjoy myself and give back to Martha the way that she's given to me. She's helped me move, she's helped my friends move, towed my friends' cars when they were in need, and now, you know what? She's in a little bit of need herself. So, with her new engine swap, her new transmission, and a painted frame, skirts up front, and some rust protection, I say we head to the back and give Martha the actual protection that she needs and the underside that she deserves to be able to power that 460 big block. She requires new fuel tanks, and there's a little bit of a surprise we found back there too we're gonna have to deal with. So let's hop to it. I built it! Oh. Hit the subscribe button! So let me give you a quick little breakdown on what we're doing here. Now, Martha here, my 77 Ford truck, is, oh gosh, what they would call heavily modified. Oh gosh, that's a big block 460 from a 1991 van. Now, that thing runs off fuel injection. Could I carburate it? Sure, but I'm not going to. What we need to do is get an actual fuel injection fuel tank system on here. I've already got the wiring and stuff going. We're actually replacing both front and rear tanks. Wow, I hit the rear. So both front and rear tanks. This has an electronic fuel pump in it. And the difference between this type and what this engine came with, this was a carburetor. And this carburetor just had like a little straw that went back to the tank, and it would just pump on the engine. It had a little thing that did this, and it would pump it just like a bike pump. And that would pump fuel up into the carburetor. Only needed to be 2 to 5 psi, nothing crazy at all. Now these run at 60 psi, so the fuel rail can manage around 40 psi. Is a little room for error, right? The problem is these aren't in there. So let's hop to. We're gonna go ahead and head under the truck. We need to get that fuel tank down. Now, make sure you've got a fire extinguisher and a buddy there. Don't catch your whole life on fire, it's a bad time. Gas is extremely flammable, that's kind of the point. Also, you're gonna wanna make sure that your fuel tank is empty, otherwise it's gonna be really, really heavy. So, let's go ahead, get under the truck. All right, there we go. We've got our fuel tank here. There's one behind you, but we're gonna do this one first. This fuel tank is hung up with these straps right here. I've actually loosened it and slid it back because of the transmission in this is really big. Now we got to compare this to the other tank that I have. So I hammered this in from under the truck, and well, it cracked, and then it started leaking, and tried to fix it, but that also leaked. So that means, looking over here, we're probably gonna have to modify this spot, but this tank, oh Lord, this tank doesn't have any fuel in it, so we can actually heat it up and press it in the right way. Also, you might be wondering why there's tape on there. Well, trying to keep this as pretty as possible, you know? So you stop the bottom from getting all sketched and, you know, plus or minus, whatever. And then we'll be able to hang it so it's a little farther back. The reason for that is the transmission pan comes back really far, and this truck was never designed for that transmission. All right, so my buddy Jarrett, you guys have seen him on the channel before. He messaged me. He's at the junkyard looking for some Mustang parts for his Falcon. You actually can see in the 289 video that I did, so I'll put a link above me about that. But he just told me, he said, hey man, there's a Crown Vic here with like super nice seats in it. They'd look good in Martha. And I said, send me pictures. So he sent me some pictures. They look really nice. I'm gonna send him and my buddy Josh, who's got a Volkswagen. I'm like swamped with all this stuff, but they're going to take some tools and stuff. They're gonna head over there, and then they're going to grab those. Suffice it to say, things have escalated. We've got these fuel tanks. They're over there because that one has some good gas in it, that one has some bad gas in it, and it all smells terrible. What we're doing now is test fitting these fuel tanks in here. Once we get everything test fitted, I can run the AN lines, and then we can pull it all out and put it back in. I think I'll run the lines after I paint everything, because otherwise the lines are going to get all freaking dirtied up by this stuff, and I got to grind all of this off, hit it with the POR 15, and then we'll be able to slap the tanks and make it all nice, and then we can move on to fixing up the bed. And there's another video about that coming up later, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and get started. This tank here, it mounted up perfectly, factory mounts, everything. Just for your own records, this is a 77 F250 two-wheel drive camper special. This is a 1988 F250 350 fuel tank because it's fuel injection compatible. Got the outlet there with the yellow, the inlet there with the blue, and then the wire harness. That'll power the fuel pump and the fuel level sender. We've got the same on this tank, and this tank has not been quite a direct fit. So I've got a transmission jack, lifted it up in here. Suffice to say, it's not happy, it doesn't fit. So we're cutting this out here. We'll make sure the tank can fit, and then we can pretty it up, make it nice, and probably throw a little reinforcement on here because that's going to be kind of a thin spot, and it is supposed to hold the tank up. So I mean, you're talking a lot of weight on that bouncing around. We don't want to have to come under here and try to make some stuff happen later. Without further ado, let's get cutting. So we got this guy hitting right there, and I don't think I'm gonna cut that part of the frame. If anything, I'll just dent that in, but this is in about the right place because it can go up and over. You can see right here where the fuel hose actually was. So we should be able to figure that out. The only problem is just ground clearance, but we've got that exhaust hanging down right there. And I think I'd like this to be up just a little bit more. And this is why I got new fuel tanks. Just because, and then there's the center. Yeah, see, we could really push that in, and if it cracks, we can weld it because there's no gas in it. We can go. I think we'll at least do that because we've got clearance from here this way, I think. Let's get this tank down again. Keep going. Oh, there's just a dog right there. All right. That ought to do her. At this point, I've kind of accepted that I'm probably gonna weld on this tank a little bit. The front, I'm just gonna call it good because we got enough clearance up there. I might stick like a hose on that cross member, just like along the edge, just to keep that happy. And then over here, really happy with that. I think that's gonna work out just fine. I wanna keep as much metal here as I can for rigidity, Probably gonna have to weld in a couple of these edges and then probably put like a bar across here just to give it a little bit more, you know, rigidity, because this is, you can see, yeah, so it is supposed to hold up the whole gas tank on the rear there. There's a strap up front which goes to that cross member we're dealing with, but then we got this guy here and it's got its own strap, and we might actually have to make something custom. Cut over here, not bad. There's a little bit of touching right there, and also right here. This, I'm sure I can just bend that up, so I think I'll do that just for the test. This guy right here is going to go up another centimeter or so, but I mean we're pretty tucked up there, which is freaking sweet. So yeah, we just gotta, honestly, I might just dent that in there. I'm not totally sure. It's, this piece right here is getting pretty thin, so maybe we'll just boom, boom. And then maybe we'll just do that kind of whole thing right there. We'll just kind of V it if we can. So we've got a hefty rub point right there. I need to kind of soften all of these edges here. Like this is all serrated, but yeah, we'll cut this edge up here and then we'll just start rounding all these edges out here. We've got this guy right there pushed right up against there. That's good. So we'll be able to just put rubber isolator there, rubber isolator down there, and then just along this edge right here, and then right along there, and then we'll just be able to strap it up and get this, the original strap. It's probably gonna work. So this is our fuel tank harness that I built. It has a switching relay in it so we can power the fuel pumps. It'll also run the signal wire for the fuel gauge right there, and everything should manage through here. We've got our switch, front, rear, easy. So this guy right here, this is what we need to mount. So we have our outlets here, right? These will go up front, and then we've got our inlets. And that'll tell us, oh, it says left, right. We just need to find a place to stick that so we can manage both of our tanks. Probably gonna mount that without the wire harness, or maybe I'll use the wire harness, I'm not sure. I need to mount that somewhere along here because we'll have this tank and this tank, so it makes sense that it would be right here. We do have a lot of stuff right here. We've got this brake hose, which honestly might be worth replacing while we're taking apart right now. Actually, I've considered replacing this actual brake line just all the way up, pretty rough. And these rear brakes have had problems kind of forever, so I wonder if maybe there's like a leak. Not sure. Maybe. Oh, you know what? Hey, look at that. That could be a brake leak. And if that's a leak, then they're getting air in them, and that's no good. We'll figure some stuff out. We'll figure out where that tank splitter is gonna go. And yeah, honestly, maybe just like right there, because it'll be easy to access from the bottom on the front here. You know what's actually really funny? There's no fuel filter. What the heck? Meanwhile,
We're over at the picking pole, and look what I see here, a Ford Mustang. Looks like a 84, 83. We're time to go get some parts. And I think we found our car. Maybe. Oh, look, the Mustang. Oh, another Mustang. Okay, this is getting sad. This is getting really sad. Luxury at its finest. We're still in these bad girls, huh?
oh yeah.
Alright, got one bolt out. Time for another. Got that side to do now. Then we're doing the back. Sweet. Alright, we're taking out these back sides. We got one seat done. One more left. Oh, we got both. We're in line. Almost there. Almost done.
I want to take a minute just to thank Eric. Eric was the previous owner of this truck and a really good friend to me. I met him at a car meet, and well, he had a Subaru at the time, and he had set up a cold air intake, but because he was on a budget and worked at AutoZone, he set up a cold air intake using exhaust tubing, and it sounded insanely snappy and just ridiculous. So absolute crazy fun memory. Eric passed away last year, shortly after I bought the truck back from him, and you know, you never know. I don't know if he knew it was coming. Certainly none of his family or friends did, and I was so just blown away to hear that news. But you know, I hope there's YouTube in heaven. Eric, if you're watching this, you're the G. The reason I mentioned that is he put these new shocks on, and I didn't have to cut them off, so that saves me about $100. Anyways, just unbolt them, disconnect, and we'll put them back on after stuff's painted. But yeah, you know, we only have so much time in this world. Just enjoy what you got, you know? So, won't make it too sappy, but call your friends, tell them you love them. This is rust reformer. This is just kind of reforming the rust, and freaking Kamala here. This is just reforming the rust. We're gonna paint over this with POR 15, which is hugely popular for painting frames, exceptionally durable, very pretty, not UV friendly, but it's underneath the bed, so no big deal. And remember, I got a whole bunch of other stuff. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff that I need to show you here coming up. So once we get this taken care of, what we're actually doing here is we're running all the wires, putting them in the right spots, and then we're gonna take them out. But we need all this to be in the right spot so we can fit the tank, make the straps all look pretty. The rears are gonna be no problem. The fronts, plus or minus. Once we have all that in there, we can run our fuel hoses and then actually test the fuel sender gauge on the dashboard with the bed off. That way we can just kind of walk around and work on it right here instead of crawling under there and dropping tanks, lifting tanks, and blah, blah, blah. Once that's all done, we can take it out, POR 15 the whole thing, put it back together, make it pretty. All right, so this has turned into a massive, confusing thing that I made far too complicated. So I was using my multimeter here to measure the outputs from the relay coming into here. So the relay is supposed to switch the power going from one fuel pump to another. The problem is I would switch either, the relay would switch, everything was wired perfectly, and both of these would be on. So I used these little switches that I have. They have little LEDs in them just to see if I could get them to switch between each other. And it did previously with a different test light, and then it didn't with these. So I went and got these old headlights. I'm out of electrical tape, a lot of electrical tape stuff. I need to get some more. But so after all of this, those two, like it wouldn't switch between the two. And I was trying to figure it out. But then I was like, well, maybe it has to be under some sort of load. So yeah, so we've got my switch right here. So if we fire this guy on, I'll actually show you the... There we go. So that's tank one. So what I'm doing here is these are headlights, and they are, gosh, they're extremely bright. What we're doing is kind of simulating a load, right? So this device here, in order to switch between the two tanks, it needs to see a load, and the LEDs that are in this take very, very little actual power. We have to have something that takes some wattage. So these headlights take 45 watts each. That translates to in the realm of, I think, 4 amps per. Now that there's a load, I can actually switch between the two. Now that we know that this is working, I'm just going to assume the rest of it works, and we're going to start putting it together. Now you might be thinking, hey Zach, that frame, not the prettiest in the world yet. You're right. You're right, it's not the prettiest in the world. I've got some POR 15 coming, and we've got a new brake line because this one's just absolutely disgusting. Trying to find the printed wire circuit here. GGG. Okay, printed circuit with gauges. So that is optional gauges package. Okay, so that's what the G means. So we need to figure out what goes to the, okay, fuel tank selector. This is the old fuel tank switch here, and I'm actually working on converting. This is for the tank switch, and the single tank ones just don't have a switch there. I'm working on converting that because I've actually got my tank switch over here now. Just kind of more like driver centric, keep this part simple. I just like it that way, I guess. So, but now that we've got this out here, we can see there are 2 orange wires. Look at that, crazy. And then this guy, look at that, that lime green. I'm betting that that one goes down under the truck, and then one of these goes over to the gauge cluster. If we take this guy, plug it into there, so this goes, this one is for the front tank, and then this one should go to the gauge itself. Now, what I need to do is go down here where I have the wire that comes from the harness, and then we come down here and we'll plug into, I think, this guy. Wow, well, hey, that works pretty good. So we've got our fuel pump and then these wires. Okay, something's happening here. Oh, it's going up. It's just going up really, really slow. All right, so now that we've got the fuel pump wiring done for up here and the back tank, we can move on to making our AN lines. Now, making these AN lines gets a little hairy and complicated, and their source and return. I'll put a basic diagram up on the screen for you, but I've got a video that I'll link right above that will show you how to make AN lines. It's a totally different video on my channel, so go check that out after this video. Let's get back to putting this truck together. First off, we're going to paint the frame, and then we're going to see some real progress. It's going to come together real fast. All right, so we are at the truck. You got the frame covered in Rust-Oleum's Rust Reform, but now we want to use Rust-Oleum's High Performance Enamel. Want to do this right over the Rust Reform. It's supposed to be a paintable surface, so we're going to paint it. Now, I'm going to do the frame in POR 15, but I'm interested to have this at least go in the corners where it's going to be hard to reach a brush, especially in like that little Y spot right there. It's just really hard to get in there with a brush, and there's inevitably going to be spots I can't reach. So we'll do this. We'll still POR 15 over it, but this will make sure we have ultimate coverage. Nooks and crannies, crannies and nooks. That gives me a question. I've met people who watch my stuff, and I'm always curious to know what you guys do. What's your job? Like, you don't have to be too specific, don't dox yourself, but like just, you know, call center, garbage man, union plumber, doctor, whatever, you know, put it in the comments. I want to know. Look forward to seeing you down there. All right, so working on the truck here, it's been giving me some trouble. I started up there, and at the rail we had 0 pressure, and right here we have about 5, maybe 6 psi, but there's a little bit of like bubbling coming through here, so it's got me wondering if maybe the tank is just like a little empty. Otherwise, that's just going to be a bad fuel pump, and we're probably going to have to put a new fuel pump in here. Now, this fuel pump hanger is designed for an 88. I wanted essentially the oldest fuel injected one. However, it's got me wondering if these have the pump in them for like a carbureted application. They said that their like running was 35 to 45 psi, which is what it's supposed to be. This is not that, and oh boy. Yeah, so we're gonna go get 2 gallons of gas, throw it in there, see if it helps the pressure, but if it doesn't, then we're gonna have to do these 2 fuel pumps. And by the way, the Mustang needs a fuel pump too. It's gonna be a great day. All right, so I got some gas. Let's pump on. Actually, I just realized there's a fuel pump in here and it ran that engine, so hello, give me a hand. I think this is actually the Town Cars factory fuel pump, funny enough, so it's a Ford part in there, probably why. We got us solidified there. Now let's get our AN lines on here. Wow, you guys like being on a pumpkin? I bet you do. It's Halloween time anyways. Let's see, so get our big line, little line. So I guess we'll do the, oh god. Oh, there we go. We'll do our source first. We're so close to testing this and start work in a few minutes, so let's see if we can, oh boy. Almost there. You guys are running out of battery too. Okay, let's give this the old yeehaw. Ride 'em, cowboy. Here we go. We've got about 5 minutes before I have to go to work, and that means that I'm hoping that all of this works. Got our old fuel pump out, new fuel pump in. This one's had a new fuel pump for a day or two. We got about 3 gallons of gas in each of these. They both pulled and made fuel pressure, but we haven't gone through the switcher valve. Now, a lot is riding on this, but we'll start with the front tank. Get her started. All right. She's running on the front tank. Let's switch to the rear one. It might die because I guess there's probably a lot of fuel in the lines. Oh my, we just switched tanks. Oh my, we're switching tanks. We're switching tanks. Let me hit it with that. Oh my god. We're switching tanks! It isn't working! Any leaks here? Should I just get a blowtorch and just kind of feel around? Kind of crazy. I can feel the fuel pressure regulator, I think. Oh, whoa. That could have been bad. Dude. Oh. Dude, let's freaking go, dude. Oh, yeah. Let's go, dude. W's in the comments for Martha, ladies and gentlemen, and ladies. The 2%ia. I love both of you. Dude. W's in the comments for Martha. Let's freaking go. Which tank am I on? I don't know. Let me check. Oh, look, the front one. But I want to be on the back one. We're on the back tank. Oh. Woo! Oh, no, 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 no. Scariest intro.